Hello and welcome to Module 2 of the English Speaking and Writing course. My name is Humble Ogbonna. In this module, we will learn about vocabulary development, and here are the topics that we will treat in this module. 1. What is vocabulary development? 2. Stages of vocabulary development. 3. How to develop your vocabulary. 4. Why improve your vocabulary? So let's start with the first. What is vocabulary development? When we say the word vocabulary, we are talking about all the words that make up a language. So if I say your vocabulary, I am talking about all the words that you know and you use. A person's vocabulary is defined as all the words known and used by a particular person. Development is the process of enlarging or advancing something. So when we bring these two words together, vocabulary and development, we are talking about the process by which people acquire words. If you want to develop something, you want to bring things together to make up that whole, and then gradually it increases. The same thing applies to your vocabulary. You look for words, you source for words, you learn new words, you bring them together, you make them your own. Now, in English language, educators generally consider four main types of vocabulary, and these are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. When you have an array of words, you have so many words to use, your listening will improve, your speaking will improve, your reading will improve, and your writing will improve. These are the four main medium or types of communication. Now, let us go into the stages of vocabulary development. How can a person acquire certain vocabulary? One is through exposure. Before learning a word or before learning how to use something, you need to know or get to see that word first. When you're exposed to something or exposed to a particular vocabulary, it means you're seeing the new word enough times to become familiar with it. For example, you hear the word pulchritude for the first time. Pulchritude. Pulchritude. If you hear that word once, it might not stick to your memory. But if you hear it twice, three times, four times, when you hear the word another time, you understand that, oh, I have gotten this word before. I have heard this word before. You're exposed to it. That is how we learn new words. Exposure. Apart from exposure, the next is understanding. You have learned a new word, pulchritude. But what does it mean? You need to know the meaning of the word and how it is being used in sentences. Pulchritude, as an example, means beauty. So when you understand what pulchritude means, you'll be able to use it in a sentence. So how do I use pulchritude in a sentence? Pulchritude is a noun. So instead of saying someone has great beauty, you can say the person has great pulchritude. Now that word has been added to your vocabulary, and that makes it interesting. Number one is exposure. Number two is understanding. The third stage is to look for synonyms. So this word I have learned now, are there other words that have the same meaning as this word? What will help you to know? It is a dictionary. Get a dictionary. A dictionary will first tell you the meaning of the word and sometimes tell you the synonyms, other words that have the same meaning as this particular word that you have learned. Better still, you can get a thesaurus. A thesaurus is a book that lists words in groups that have similar meaning. So pulchritude can mean beauty. So you've gotten a synonym there. You're free to use any of them while speaking. And since you've learned the word pulchritude, it'll be better to use that word often. Not only that, the fourth thing you need to do in the stage of your vocabulary development is to practice. People often say that practice makes perfect, but we are not perfect. we make mistakes. So what I say is practice makes you better. Use the new words that you have learned in your sentences when you're writing and when you're speaking. The more you use them, the better it become. In your subconscious, when you're just talking, those words will come out. It's like someone having balls in a bag. He can easily dip his hand inside the bag and bring out the balls to use. But if there was nothing in the bag, would he be able to bring out anything? The answer is no. Similarly, when you have learned a number of words, you've learned so many words, you've known the meanings and how they are used in sentences. When you're speaking and when you're writing, naturally, those words come out. And that is a beautiful way of building your vocabulary. So these are the 4 stages of vocabulary development. Now, how can we develop our vocabulary? What are the ways? Number 1 is through reading. When you read, you are taking in information. When you read, you tend to see new words, words that you're not familiar with. How can you do that? One is by reading blog posts about subjects that you find interesting. You might like football. Read blog posts about football. You might be interested in politics or science. Read blog posts about these things. You would see new words about them or new words on them. These words, write them down in a book or in a piece of paper and check the meaning in the dictionary. But should you be satisfied with only blog posts on subjects you find interesting? No. You also need to read blog posts about other subjects. Because if you only find politics interesting, would you not want to know terms that are being used in the medical fields? Of course you would. So read blog posts on this. You might also read Facebook posts too, or other social media posts. These are great ways to improve your vocabulary. What about novels? Read novels very well. Read books, read stories. These will help to improve your vocabulary. Also, it will be important for you to read newspapers and magazines. There you'll find words that you are not familiar with, you'll learn new words, and it will be added to your vocabulary, and you can use them whenever and wherever you feel it's nice to use them. Apart from reading, another way to develop your vocabulary is by listening. You listen when others are talking. You listen to music. What is your favorite music? Hip hop, R&B, countryside music? Listen to the lyrics. It is true that most music available to us today are without rich lyrical content, just full of rubbish, so to say. But there are other music that you can listen to that are uplifting and that have rich meanings. Listen to such ones. You'd hear words that you are not familiar with. Those words, write them down. Look for the meaning in the dictionary and add them to your vocabulary. Apart from music, it is important to attend physical events where you have speakers. These events might be exhibitions, it can be conferences, it can be seminars, it can be business meetings. Attend these ones. Listen to people talk. Listen to great speakers when they talk. Listen to the words they say. Write things down. The words you're not familiar with, write them down. Check the meaning and use them. Listen to the radio. Listen to news on the radio. This is another important way for you to improve your vocabulary. And the last one there is podcast. Listen to podcast. Subscribe to some podcast channels. Listen to the speakers there. This will help to develop your vocabulary. Apart from listening, what else can we do or how else can we develop our vocabulary? The third is watching. The things you see and hear will have a lasting impression on your mind. Watch television programs, programs that would help to improve your vocabulary. There are many English channels on television, maybe news, the BBC. It might be CNN. It might be other educative programs on television where you'll be able to learn new words. You can also listen to news on television. There, the news, they talk about politics, they talk about the judiciary, they talk about medical stuff, just everything happening around us, the military, and all that. When you watch news on television, you will be able to get in contact with different vocabulary, different words that you can add to your vocabulary. You can also attend virtual events. You can watch them on television. It might be football games. If you are a lover of football, try to be or to tune in before the match starts. There you have pundits in the studios who would sit down and analyze the matches that is to be played or that are to be played, the players and everything about it. These pundits they speak English. So when you listen to them, you'd hear them use words that you probably are not familiar with. Write those words down. Check the meaning in the dictionary and use them. Also, you can subscribe to YouTube channels where English is taught. One example is Crystal Accent. Go to YouTube, type in Crystal Accent, and subscribe to the channel. There you would learn what you need to know about almost everything about English language. Your pronunciation of words, your grammar, and every that thing you need to know about the English language. So after this video, kindly do so. Go to YouTube, search for Crystal Accent, subscribe to the channel. Another way is by watching people around you. Look out for people when they talk. Be with them. Listen to them as they're talking. When you do that, you learn new words. Apart from watching, another way to develop your vocabulary is to write the new words in a book. I said that earlier. So those words that you've been hearing, you've seen people say, you've heard people say rather, you've listened to, write them down in a book. Write them out. After writing them out, the number 5 here says, use the dictionary and the thesaurus to get the meaning and the synonyms. This will help to develop your vocabulary. Also, you need to join a community with other English learners. There is a saying here in Nigeria that for you to beat your chest confidently, you need the 5 fingers. You also know this saying that no person is an island of knowledge. So when you're together in a community, in a group with like-minded people, people who are eager to learn the English language, there your vocabulary will be built because these ones and you two, just like it said that iron sharpens iron, you get to benefit each other. What you know, you'd say, you'd write, they'd learn from you, and what they know, they would say, they write too, and you learn from them. One such group is Learn English with Humble on Facebook. Search for it and join the group. And number 7, the last one here is to get an accountability partner, someone who you'll be accountable to. The person, some of these are paid. It might be a friend, or you can get a mentor, someone you pay to be your accountability partner. You meet often, maybe via Zoom or other social media network, or maybe on WhatsApp. You call, you have video calls, you discuss in English language, and the person will help to improve your vocabulary and your spoken English. This is another cool way to do that. Now that we have seen the different areas, different ways to develop your vocabulary, why then is it important for you to improve your vocabulary? 1, we do this in order to communicate effectively. When you have a wide array of words with you in your arsenal, you will be able to speak very well. You have different words to use, different words to select from, and this improves your communication skills. 2, to understand better. If people talk and you do not know the words they're saying, it will be difficult for you to understand what they're saying, and so the message will be lost. You need to improve your vocabulary in order to understand what others are saying better. 3. To boost your power of persuasion. When you have so many words to choose from, you will be able to persuade people to come to terms with what you're saying and to believe you, and even to agree to what you're saying. A wide array of vocabulary increases your power of persuasion. And the last reason here is to make a good impression. You will feel good about yourself. People would like to hear you talk because you have so many words to use. Imagine a person using the same word over and over and over again, and another person who uses different words for the same meaning. You know, others would like to hear that other person speaking because he has a wide array of words to use, and that can be the same for you too. These are reasons for you to improve your vocabulary. It's like a person who in his house has different varieties of food. He has rice, beans, he has gari, he has yam. So it's different from a person who has only one type of food, maybe rice. So when you visit A, he feeds you with rice at all time. And when you visit B, he has different types of food. Naturally, who would you like to visit? Of course, B, because you know you have different types to eat there. Today you might eat rice, tomorrow you eat yam, the next day you might eat something else. The same thing applies to your vocabulary. Please improve on your vocabulary. Learn, get the meaning, use them. What have we learned in this slide, in this module? We've learned what vocabulary development is. We have learned the stages of vocabulary development. We've also learned how to develop our vocabulary. And lastly, why it is important to improve your vocabulary. Put these things in mind, practice them. Remember, practice makes us better. My name is Humble, and I want to say thank you for being here in this module.